Welcome to the LSBB podcast. I'm your host, Lori Foster.
And I'm Brad Foster.
And today we have a gentleman who has been around more cases of beer than most folks could even think about. From Glazers to MillerCoors, Mike Gorman has seen the distribution world evolve from every angle. He's now a trusted advisor for us at LSBB. And today he's going to tell it like it is. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us how you got your start in the beer business? We always like to hear this from everybody. So how'd you get started in the beer business?
Well, I've been in the beverage business for a long time. When I was finishing up my last couple of years of college, I started working for Western Beverage Liquor and became an assistant manager for their 4 stores in El Paso, Texas. And then I went to work for Sierra Distributing, local distributor that distributed primarily Miller Brewing Company products. While I was working for him, basically back then our titles were grunts. So I was a grunt. I did whatever they wanted me to do, from sweeping the floor to riding as a helper on a truck to working special events. Back then, working a special event on a weekend, making extra pay was a big deal. Then I happened to meet some people from Miller Brewing Company who came in the market when we were working a big event. They were in for the weekend, and I ended up taking an internship with them in the summer that turned into, we have 4 markets. Where do you want to go work after the internship was over? So that's how I started my career, and I was with Miller Brewing Company and Molson Coors Miller Brewing Company for 28 years before joining Glazers, and I was with Glazers for 11 years.
Nice. We all have kind of similar backgrounds. I love hearing how everybody kind of got their start in this industry. Same for me. I used to work for the Houston Rockets, and one of the corporate sponsors was Miller Brewing Company. And so I met all of the distributors in Houston, and that's how I got into the beer business too. Never did I grow up thinking, hey, I'm going to go sell some beer. It just kind of happened.
I just drank a lot of beer in college and somehow got a job with the local distributor.
Nice.
And, because I guess I drank a lot of beer. I don't know.
I got to tell you, the industry has changed. You know, I've got 39 years in with it, and that's a lot of time, a lot of beer, a lot of consumption, and the entire industry and watching how consumers go about shopping for product has changed. When I initially started, consumers were very loyal. They'd stay within 3 to 5 beers based on their range of going outside of their norm. That expanded over the years between 5 and 12. And then now people jump from 12 to 18 products in terms of looking for different styles and product that they want to drink. Everybody already has a primary one, but then people move
Still
on
like to sample different things,
yes,
right?
Different samples.
Diversity.
Well, thinking about breweries, obviously you worked for one of the largest ones. What's the biggest misconception suppliers or breweries have about distributors?
Everybody thinks the distributors can go ahead and fully service every account the way a supplier wants them to. And based on cost of goods, delivery cost of personnel, and running a business looking at the bottom line, you can't do that. It is impossible. You can meet certain standards set out by the supplier, but that includes the delivery, that includes a sales rep, and that includes a merchandiser based on time and frequency in the account. In Texas, chain business drives a lot of business. And you have very big players within the state of Texas regarding chains. From a grocery standpoint and a C-store standpoint, it varies by state based on how everything goes. And then you have liquor chains as well as independents. And then now you have RTDs, which have entered the world, which actually is another service level you have to put on your service model based on delivering. So a supplier thinks a distributor can just add people in order to
Meet,
hit certain
meet those needs. Right.
or distribution points or sales points. It all comes down to the bottom line and balancing. It is a fine balance when you're on the other side of the fence.
And you've been on both sides, so you know how everybody is on the supplier side versus how the distributor needs to react to those suppliers.
Yeah, and it's different. It's gaining alignment with your suppliers, and really determining based on the suppliers what is the best way to go to market for those brands, because not every brand you go to the market the same. A craft brand where HEB might sell 30 to 35% of the off-premise volume is driven a lot by the on-premise, where you might be selling 55, 60% of your volume in the on-premise. That's completely different from a domestic product, say like Bud, Miller Lite, Coors Light, where your breakdown might be closer to 15% sold in the on-premise and the rest in the off-premise.
Off-premise.
Yeah.
So it's a different tactic based on the brands and styles you sell. And that's where people need to really get in alignment on both sides of the fence. What is the best way to attack a craft brand or craft brands within a certain geography?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Can't be a blanket approach.
It cannot be.
Yep.
Awesome. What you've worked with global and local craft brands. What do you think separates the great ones?
So when I first joined Glazers, I was able to attend meetings with New Belgium. And one thing that they really drove home is how well a beer travels. Certain beers that are brewed in certain markets travel differently than other brands. And it takes a long time to develop a brand and let it branch out. That was my biggest learning
Key
takeaway
Yeah.
from craft beers and getting on the other side of the fence. And you can see it in Texas as well. Certain craft beers that are made in certain parts of the state sell very well, but as they branch out,
To different cities.
it's a different city, different dynamic, and it pulls differently. That was my biggest learning in terms of going to the other side of the fence, because when you're with a big supplier,
Yeah.
your focus is always, okay, we're going and rolling out this new brand to these new markets, and we just roll. Don't really take a step back and develop what is the true strategy we want for that brand and to move it and grow it forward.
So are you saying that going deep into your home market, maybe I'm speaking for you here, I don't want to speak for you, but going deep in your home market first to understand your own market before you just run and start opening up a bunch of other markets?
Yeah, and I don't want to throw certain craft brands
Yeah, you don't need
under
to.
the fence and what have you.
Yeah.
But so when a craft beer opens up and they're trying to brew to a certain capacity based on their tanks, they decide sometimes, okay, we're going to go ahead and expand our brands as much as possible or keep expanding based on our tanks. So if it slows down in home base, well, they're just going to expand a couple other markets to keep those tanks moving and forward flow. What ends up happening is they don't take care of the core business at home plate before branching out.
Yeah.
And develop, get that brand strong in your home market, determine what your strategy is for the rest of your adjoining markets, then branch out and grow it.
Yep.
And I think based on that too is like I think a lot of craft breweries or smaller breweries, they don't realize the cost of that either. And they get strung too thin, like you're saying, versus spending their money in their home market.
That is extremely correct. And you know, everybody that comes to a distributor, one of the first things they say is, we make a great beer. I wish I had $10 for every craft beer, or somebody who made me a pitch said that. Because there are a lot of great beers out there. It's just getting people to sample them,
Mm-hmm.
to make them part of their consideration that leads to further purchase. A quote from somebody a long time ago that I worked with said, a bottle in the on-premise, a bar,
Yep.
consumed, will lead to a case in the off-premise, which would be a
Makes sense.
grocery or C-store.
Yeah.
Because you're driving the sampling, consumption, and you're driving somebody's consideration in the bar atmosphere for them to taste and purchase that product in the off-premise down the road.
Right.
Yep.
And that's what we were taught too.
Well, we're all
Back in
taught.
the
We're all
day.
taught by the same people, I think. So we're all older now, Mike. You much older than me, for sure. If you had an opportunity to tell a young sales rep starting out in this business, what would you share with them?
Relationships are important. And sometimes people have walking away from the relationships regarding your business, whether it's a chain call, whether it's an owner of a store, whether it's somebody who's placing the beer order of the store. You have to service the account. You have to walk the account. And then you have to have a conversation with somebody at the account in order to build that rapport and sell for the future. Because you never know, and you have to say hi to everybody. That person bagging the groceries at the front might be the person in charge of be the wine steward or the beer steward in an account down the road to make that decision, and you've already built the relationship, even if it's a friendly smile or just saying hello as you walk in.
Right.
Greeting people and letting that flow will lead to a long way. Relationships still very important, although it's become now you need to know your brands, you need to know your styles, you need to know what works in that account. Because an account on the north side of San Antonio that might be very diverse and have a higher income might be a little different than some of the further southern accounts in South San Antonio, where disposable income might not be as big, and how they go about shopping for a variety of products is different. Stores that set their coolers by demographics like H-E-B, Circle K, they do it based on the consumer base and pull, which is a very smart way based on the business. So if you're a sales rep, you need to know your area and sell accordingly to that store.
Yeah, it's great.
Makes sense. I'd like to go back on something you said because you talked about relationships are important. So let's go back to the supplier distributor relationship. How would you recommend for suppliers? What does a good relationship look like between a supplier and a distributor?
A distributor is, people always say, okay, we're going to have this person deal with large suppliers. Okay, this level of our company is going to build the relationship with this level. Our chain people are going to deliver and have relationships with these people. Our upper management will deliver and to build relationships with the upper level. The most successful people I've met, either from a small supplier or a large supplier, you prove yourself at all levels of a distributorship, then you are heard, listened to, and if you have an idea, bring it up, brainstorm it with the distributorship, it will get implemented. It's building your relationship from the bottom all the way to the top. Don't just think, oh, I'm a beginner, I'm an entry-level sales rep from a supplier, I'm only going to deal with the sales force. Well, if you put yourself in that box, you're going to stay in that box. If you work outside that box and build your relationship with supervisors, management, and upper management, your box got a lot bigger.
Yeah,
exactly. And that was like a thing too. I mean, I think you said it well. I mean, because I was trained in the way. I used to ride on trucks with the drivers, wheel kegs, help deliver kegs, deliver cases. So, I agree with that 100%. I think you're more respected as a supplier of actually coming in and getting dirty and working with everybody.
Yeah,
So
I'll give you an example. Monarch Beverage in Indianapolis, John Zenas back in the day. I didn't have the FaceTime because of whatever reason, but I was just the chain guy overseeing the Midwest, and I jumped on a truck during Indy Week, and all of a sudden I'm getting off of one truck, getting ready to get on another truck because they roll multiple trucks throughout the day. And I see John Zenas getting off of one truck, and he sees me and he goes, "What are you doing here?" And next thing you know, I'm having, weekly conversations with John, and I'm having monthly sit downs with John. And all of a sudden the conversations turn into relationships for sure. And if I wouldn't have been on that truck, Lori, I probably would have never really had that strong relationship with Monarch Beverage.
It allows you to pick up the phone. It allows you to send an email to somebody. Just say, hey, checking in. Next time I'm in town, like
Yeah.
to schedule a 15-minute meeting with you. Let me know if you're available.
Yep,
That goes a long way.
absolutely.
Yep. What's a moment in your career or defining moment in your career that really shaped your approach and how you look at the beer business? It's a big question.
There's been a couple. So moving from California to Seattle, Pacific Northwest. In Southern California, the products, Miller Brewing Company products I were representing back then, had a fairly large share of the market. Moving to the Pacific Northwest, which was one of the craft centric
Right.
areas of the country back then, brands had a small share. In fact, in Portland, Oregon, one of my larger cities that I covered with a task force team, our largest selling brand was Milwaukee's Best Ice.
Nice.
What a difference between
Yeah.
the base of Miller Lite
To Milwaukee's
to
best.
Milwaukee's Best Ice in Portland, Oregon.
The beast.
And again, it was recognizing what other brands we had, what could compete in that area. So we started working on our other brands that might make sense. And if we were more of an economy type brand market back then for us, because our other brands weren't relatable, we pushed that. And then we found out Miller Lite wasn't working. Genuine Draft was a beer that had a stronger presence with the consumer base.
Mhm.
Switched our focus and grew our base a lot more in the Pacific Northwest, letting that be the lead brand for that area at that time.
Yeah. Every market is so different. You, like me, we've moved so many times in our careers, and I remember moving from the West Coast to Milwaukee the first time and realizing that, man, what a club you can, wield in your home market, your home turf, like Milwaukee when you work for Miller. That was an amazing, place to live, drink, enjoy being part of a very strong organization within that market. It was fun.
Yeah, and it changes, the Midwest or Miller Brewing Company, strong market. As you move to different parts, share completely would change based on your market. Texas, very strong market for Miller Brewing Company over the years.
Yep.
Miller Lite was, when I first started, the biggest brand in Texas.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So in your opinion, what makes LSBB, Lone Star Beverages, different in today's beer world?
So I think there's a big opportunity for smaller to medium size suppliers based on their business to go to a distributor with representation representing several suppliers, because then you're bigger to that distributor in terms of base. So if you go representing, let's just say 5 suppliers at an hourly or an hour and a half meeting with a distributor, you could probably get a lot more accomplished because it's ease of business. That's a term I've used throughout my career: ease of business for a distributor, ease of business for a retailer. So whenever you would make a call, you would map out what you want to get sold and have a conversation with. That way you could get right to the specifics and make it easy for them.
Right.
If they're going to add a product on, you really think, well, you'd already have the new paperwork set there for them with all their answers on what their cost is, what their margin is, what they should be getting for the retailer. It's ease of business.
Yeah.
And that's an opportunity as we move forward based on dealing with our distributors and representing suppliers. Ease of business, because then you can start getting share of mind with the distributor and focus weeks or focus months based on certain brands that you want to drive the business on. And it's also understanding craft beer. Like we said earlier, on-premise craft accounts drive 55 to 60% of the volume. So identifying and going in, let's just say you went into a very large on-premise account as a supplier rep representing all these suppliers with the distributor rep, and that place had 18, 20 tap knobs. Think how many tap knobs based on different suppliers and styles you would be representing to go and sell and get.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what our sales team is seeing, Mike, is that a bar manager, bar owner, when we walk in and we've got 4 or 5 brands, and sometimes they're not in the same distributor, which is a good thing sometimes, they're more willing to talk to us and spend time with us and talk about across the portfolio that we represent, versus if just one supplier rep went in and just talking about their one brand. They can't go in there every single week and just talk about the same brand over and over and over and over again, because it gets old for that buyer and that decision maker. So I think we're definitely bringing some more excitement, and to your point, ease of business, because now that bar manager, bar owner only has to talk to one person for multiple brands.
Yeah, and you're exactly right, because if you look at a bar, they have 3 pricing categories for the most part in terms of how they price their drafts. So they'll have domestic pricing, they'll have probably import and some craft, and then they'll have high-end craft pricing in terms of how they price their products on draft. The other thing is styles. So if you can go in and represent multiple aspects of their need,
Yeah.
on
Right.
pricing tiers as well as styles, ease of business for that retailer.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah.
It's a great thing. Well, Mike, thanks for your time today, your straight talk, your stories. We're super excited to have you as an advisor for us on the team, and looking forward to getting more advice and knowledge from you from all your experience in the business. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.